welcome to the practice today. I have prepared simply a blanket and a block. There's nothing that you would actually need. I currently like to have a block handy, sometimes to rest hands on and arm extension kind of thing. So when you've prepared your space, and perhaps you have already, I suggest to use a blanket, especially if your knees are a little bit tender. So I will place a blanket down over the mat where my knees will be landing. It's always worth having a block within reach, hence why I placed it somewhere near the mat. You can choose now to come into a seated position sitting on your heels. As you know, it is not essential to sit a certain way. I would simply like to begin in this seated position for a short period of time. So if you can't sit like this, perhaps take a block underneath, as I did. Maybe you require your knees to extend or legs to extend forward. We will allow the arms to just fall away from the body. The palms of the hands are facing forward. Giving your shoulders a light shrug back. Taking a deep breath in. Allowing another breath of air to enter the lungs. And then have a soft, long breath out of your mouth. Repeat that, breathing in fully, topping up with another sip of air, and then letting the breath come out of the mouth ever so slowly, perhaps pursing the lips. And one last round, full deep breath in, top up breath. And then exhaling very slowly from your mouth. Once you've completed these breaths, feeling into both of the palms of your hands and slowly beginning to join these palms together in front of your heart space, observing how it feels to bring them closer. As your palms might touch, you could place the thumbs lightly toward the sternum, allowing your spine to remain long. We will continue with 3 chants of the universal sound of Om. Let's begin with an in-breath. Noticing the vibrations that slightly continue in the body. Let your hands release to the tops of the thighs. Eyes could still be closed if you wish. Placing your fingertips lightly behind your back, starting to lift from your chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together gently. And if your neck is okay, bring your chin forward and then guide the head back. A deep breath in over the front of the body. And as you breathe out, lightly rounding the spine, as your head lifts again, walking your hands forward and coming into child's pose. Now for my child's pose, I will remove my sitting support. I've also brought my knees closer together, but this is only an option. You can have knees closed like mine are now, or separate your knees out, but leave your big toes to touch. Maybe your arms are extending loosely forward. Perhaps you use your hands as a support for the head. And as you rest there in your child's pose, perhaps feeling into the space around your abdomen, how that's resonating. Maybe you're feeling your breath moving towards your abdomen. I'd encourage you to deepen this very breath, the breath down into your belly, then expanding into the rib cage with your breath, and then right up towards the collarbones. And breathing out the same way from the belly to the ribs, to the collarbones. Let each breath now flow this way, full yogic or 3-part breath. Belly ribs to your collarbones while in a child's pose. Your abdomen and rib cage will expand into your legs. As that's limited, it will move out to the sides and even up towards your back. Allowing and even encouraging that expansion down into your legs. So to experience a movement of your breath towards your back and side body. Stay with that for a few more breaths, gently stimulating the lymph flowing through the abdomen. In each practice that we do on the mat, when we begin to move, and be it with a movement of the breath or even the chanting, we are addressing our lymphatic system, which so requires to be moved. You might now choose to turn the palms of your hands to face upwards if your arms are extended forward. If your head can't rest on the floor, either let it hover or place a block underneath. Turning the palms of your hands up in this way is like a prayer position too, similar to our hands touching in front of the heart when we were chanting the Oms. It is a sign when we open the hands like this of a strong pulsation of faith or shraddha. And faith is exactly what we need to be able to make great leaps and receive great blessings. So again, we're tapping into our abilities to create change. Maybe because we pray for it, but perhaps also because through that prayer it comes into our awareness. With that we can create the change. Whatever it is that you would like to change, perhaps have that in your hands. Taking one more breath while in this shape. When completed, turn the palms of the hands back down onto the mat. Walk the hands back up toward your knees. And straight behind you again for another back bend. Leave your fingertips on the floor. Draw the shoulder blades together while you bring your chest up. Gaze could remain forward, or if the neck allows, the chin comes forward and you guide your head back. Pause here for one deep breath in and out. Then let your lower back round again, the head come up. and stepping your hands forward, lifting your knees off the ground, finding an all four stance. On your next inhalation, let your left leg extend back. You might like to flex the foot, turn the toes to face to the ground, and reach forward with the crown of the head looking down to the space right in front of you. A breath in. On your out breath, draw your knee and nose together and round your spine. On the inhale, extend out through the heel and forward to the crown. On the exhale, draw your knee and nose together underneath. Let's repeat for one more breath, extending back as you inhale and lengthening. On the out breath, drawing the knee into the chest. You may either step this foot forward or help it there. Swing the foot behind you around, so your hips are starting to open to the long side of the mat. Placing your left forearm on top of your thigh. And then a breath in as you might lift your right arm. As you're extending upwards, extend into both of the fingers. Perhaps have a look down towards the knee in front, deliberately aligning this knee over the ankle joint and with your toes. While you keep it this way, potentially extending your lower arm and placing it to the inside of the knee, counteracting between arm and knee so that the top shoulder might go a bit further back. Your gaze might become open into that space that you created in front of you. As you take your next inhale, only an option. Swing your arm back and down, and perhaps circle it all the way, either re-extending it to the ceiling or perhaps extending your arm over the head. Creating a little side bend towards your knee while you keep the pressure between your arm and knee. The upper palm might face towards the floor, but you're still using knee and arm, so your shoulders back. You might even allow your gaze to rise, but keep the neck engaged with a very subtle chin tuck. Kneeling Parshvakonasana, breathing. On the out breath, releasing your hand back down, swinging your foot around. And as a breath in comes, as a counteraction, perhaps lifting the left arm or rolling your left shoulder back. Bringing your hand back down to the mat and sliding your foot back, bringing your knee back down onto the floor. Spreading out through the fingers again, finding your stance about hip distance for the knees. I will quickly turn myself around as you breathe in, extending now your right leg back, flexion into the foot, the toes are pointing down, spine is long, your gaze right in front of your fingertips. On the next exhalation, drawing together your knee, your nose, and rounding the spine. With the inhale, extend back out through the heel and forward into the crown of the head. And with the out breath, draw it back in, knee, nose, and rounded spine. Last round here, a breath in to extend. A breath out to curl it in, and the same option here, helping, stepping, or guiding the foot forward. As you place the front foot down, swing the back foot behind again so to open the hips towards the long side of the mat. Placing now the right forearm on top of your thigh, using that as you breathe in, and maybe your left arm is extending to the ceiling. This is my uncomfortable arm, so I will rest it down instead, but please feel free to extend yours. Stretching into all of your fingertips to begin with. And then taking a look down in the direction of your right knee. taking the knee over your ankle joint and aligning it over the toes. So with that alignment, perhaps extending your lower arm, so we can recreate the pressure between the knee and this arm. It is not very strong, but it holds both of them in place. And it might give you a chance to take your left shoulder further back, maybe opening your gaze up into that beautiful space you created in the body, in the hips. Of course, you could stay here or swing your arm down and back as you breathe in, and either re-extending it or taking it all the way over the head. If you choose your arm to be over the head, turn the palm of the hand down. And still use arm and knee against each other to keep the same openness, although you're leaning a little bit into the side body. Perhaps changing your gazing point, maybe gently looking up. No matter where you look, up or down, have a light chin tuck and feel your neck being engaged in the practice. One more breath here. Then let your arm and shoulder roll back down. Bring the hand back to the mat. Swing the foot back over the mat. And as our little counteraction, a breath in. Maybe the right arm lifts as you turn to the knee. And then swinging the hand down and stepping foot and knee back onto the mat. If you find it troublesome to sit on the heels, please grab your block again. Otherwise, perhaps extending the legs forward, finding your seated position. As we come to lift through our spine again, give the shoulders a few gentle rolls. You might only roll them backwards. And then leave your shoulders gently shrugged down. You could choose between resting the backs of your hands upon your thighs here, because that opens the shoulders a bit. Or you could turn the palms forward and let your arms extend towards the mat. Or even rest with fingertips on the floor, depending on how you sit. You can choose to steady your gaze now at the short front edge of your mat. Or close your eyes. And in that case, perhaps internally looking down to the tip of your nose. For a few rounds of 3-part breaths. Expand into your abdomen as you breathe in through the nose. Let your ribs expand. And then right up toward the collarbones, upper back. When you're breathing out, bring the abdomen back in. The lower ribs slowly, upper chest releasing. Keeping your breath flowing like this for a few rounds. If you are familiar with the Ujjayi breath, you might add that light constriction in the back of the throat. It feels a little bit as if you're fogging up your glasses, just to wipe them down. That is done with the mouth closed. If you don't mind to count your breath, count the length of your exhalation. If you do mind counting, feel into the length. And then aim to bring your in-breath to that very same length. As we all have our own rhythm of breathing as well as counting, I will leave this up to you to know where is your balance. Where's your breath flowing so smoothly in that 3-part way that you can carry it throughout your whole practice? Could even move like this throughout your day if you were to have that attention. keeping your breath flowing in the way you've established it, and a breath in to raise the arms up. Maybe your gaze opens again. You could bring the hands to touch in Anjali Mudra and draw your hands down through the midline, then extending forward onto the mat, lifting your hips up. I will again remove my block, place it within reach. Your choice now, tucking toes under and lifting knees off the mat for a downward dog. Not yours, perfectly fine to stay on the knees and find your own way forward as you might start to walk the feet in small steps towards that short front edge of the mat. As you get there, take an inhalation to a half lift, and then breathing out to bend forward again. Take your next out breath then to uncurl your spine, rising into a standing position. Now I've placed myself facing forward, but please do stay facing the short front edge of your mat. Stepping your feet just a little bit wider apart, realigning the outer edges of the feet to be parallel. Letting your hands just slide down your thighs. Place them onto the middle of the thighs with your fingers pointed inwards. As you breathe in, lift your tailbone. Start to raise your heart and your gaze. With the out breath, draw your tailbone under, begin to round the spine, and slowly even the head comes down. Leave the head to last, even when you breathe in, to lift your tailbone. Drop your belly, open your chest, then lifting the head. Again, draw the tailbone under as you curl through the whole spine on the out breath, lowering the head. Let's repeat that for another 3 breaths. Whenever you have completed your movements and never a need to rush to be anywhere, hold in the rounded and press down into the feet to curl all the way up to a stand. Lifting your arms as you breathe in, bringing your hands to touch and stepping your right foot down the mat. I've stepped it down the mat but left the heel off the floor. If that's possible for you, do the same. Hiding the heel behind the foot and bending a little bit into your back knee so that the torso is nice and upright. As you might have guessed, we're working with Anjali Mudra today. On the breath in, could you reach that up? Extend a bit or fully through the legs. And while you breathe out, coming back into a deeper lunge and your hands settle back at heart space. So your in breath, you might reach up and extend. On the out breath, could you land back in the deeper lunge? Let's go for 2 more. Once your hands are back at your heart space, pause. Notice the alignment of the pelvis here, the hips facing forward, and how quickly that could change if you place the back heel to the floor. The hips are opening again towards the side. You might extend your left hand down to the inside of your knee and use a little pressure between the knee and the hand as you inhale to open your right arm. Now be strong in both of your legs, the bent one as well as the fully straight one. On the back leg, you would reach towards the outer edge of the foot. On the front, you would be guided by the hand and the knee pressure. Your choice is here the same. As you might breathe in, bend the back knee, swing your arm back and down. And while you extend the back leg again, Your arm could finish here over the head, same as we've practiced kneeling, palm of the hand facing down, extended side angle pose or Utthita Parshvakonasana. As you take a deep breath, grounding through the edge of the foot, your fingertips. Exhale, let your hand reach down to the floor or onto a block. Lift the heel of your back foot. Little counteraction. A breath in to lift your left arm. A breath out to swing the hand to the floor and step the foot forward. Let hands come up. Fingertips might press into shins, a half lift position. Bending the knees and let the body fall down. Your out breath. Waving up. Edge of a waterfall, Ardha Uttanasana. Bending the knees, let the water fall down. Your out breath, Uttanasana. Let's repeat for 2 more, lengthening spine forward, in breath. Letting it fold, out breath. 1 last round. As you uncurl the spine on your next exhalation, rolling up slowly. Lifting the arms and extending towards the ceiling on a breath in. On the exhale, draw your hands down into heart center. Let's inhale, extend the arms 1 more time. This time as the hands come down, step back with your left foot. Aim for a similar stance. Start to soften into the back knee, bend into the front knee, aligning your pelvis to face forward. Sometimes it needs a little tuck of the front side inwards to get balance in both legs. Let's begin our movement here on the breath in, extending arms up, legs might lengthen. Out breath as you sink into the legs, the hands back to the heart. In breath, lifting and extending. Out breath as you sink in. Go for 3 more breaths. Be guided by the length of your in and out breath. Adjust the movement to the pace of your breath. Only problem is when your teacher is obsessed with the breath, she forgets to count. So perhaps this is the last one. As you land, take a pause here, feel the hip alignment. Then lower the back heel to the mat and feel into the openness that you create in the pelvic area. As you land here, extending your right arm down, reach towards the inside of the knee. Create a little bit of pressure there. Then perhaps on the in-breath, the left arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Again, other rest mine. But you can stand here using your hand and knee towards each other to open out through the chest and hips. Being deeply grounded into your back foot. Active in the front, not only through the pressure between the hand and the knee. Your option, same as on the other side. A breath in where your arm swings back and down, the knee bends. And then as you breathe out, extending the leg again, and your arm might reach over the head. If you choose that position, let the palm face downwards. Still keep that pressure between the hand and the knee. You might lean a little bit into the side and keep deeply grounded through that outer edge of the back foot, actively into the mat. As you inhale, with the exhale, release. As you bring your hand back down to the mat, lifting the heel, and perhaps a breath in to lift the right arm. On the exhale, bring the hand back down to the mat. Step your foot again to the front, bowing back down into a forward fold. As you might choose to stay a little bit in this forward bend, the outer edges of your feet might be parallel. You're leaning with your nose to the space between your knees. You could have your fingertips on the floor right in front of you. If you reach there, you could use a block. Take a gentle lift up of the shoulders into the shoulder sockets, experiencing some length perhaps in the neck. Leaning weight forward within your feet towards the toes. Spending 2 more breaths here, longer out breaths than in breaths maybe. And then uncurling the spine on the next out breath to come. Lifting shoulders, rolling them gently back and down and releasing the palms to open. As you come to stand again at the front side of your mat, the palms are open, the body is tall. Have a look down whether your feet are at hip distance and parallel. With that stance here, begin to draw the inside of your heels together. Notice how your legs are starting to activate, but your knees might stay a bit soft. Feel a reach up through the crown of the head. Feeling into the 2 hands now as you experience them as they are, separate from each other. While you take your next inhale, your arms might reach up and your right heel could lift. As you draw your hands down to your heart center, your heel of the right foot could come to the left foot, the ankle, or you might place the foot up or even help it up to your inner thigh or a tree variation. Bringing your standing leg firmly into the mat to rise out of the hip. The palms of the hands might gently press together, but your shoulders are soft. You're holding your gaze steady to aim for a bit of balance. And if that's happening for you, could you extend the arms, maintaining a little pressure perhaps between the hands? If it's okay to keep the hands touching, please do. Building a crown for a tree today. If your shoulders are tight like mine, you might still want to open your branches instead. Always putting yourself first, acknowledging where you are in this moment and your connection to the higher self, higher good of your practice. As you breathe in, raise the arms and the knee. Step the foot back for a warrior 1. As you land the foot down, your hands return to the heart. Get that same feeling where your pelvis is placed or a similar one to the lunge position, but now keep your feet squeezing inwards. An option to open your arms out wide. Maybe even turn the palms of your hands upward. Give a light squeeze between the shoulder blades and roll your gaze up. Reminding us of ourselves and the divine. Whereas often we visualize our higher self and the connection sitting in heart center. So perhaps an extension there. As you next exhale, slowly bringing your hands back together, aware of these 2 hands with different energies and just pausing before the palms might touch. Perhaps you experience a current of energy here. Then let's join the palms at heart center. Lean the weight forward and step the foot to the front. Take a deep breath. Be here in this moment. With the inhale, lifting the arms and the left heel comes up. As you take your hands down to heart center, the knee might roll out. You can choose again, heel to foot to ankle, foot to lower, or even upper leg, all your choices. Bring more pressure into the foot you're standing on and grow your tree tall, lifting up from the ground and finding a steady gazing point. A strong tree rooted into the earth. The hands connecting at current to the heart. And your choice is with the palms lightly pressing together to extend your arms upwards. If this feels good, extend the arms fully, keep hands touching. But if required, open the arms back into branches, making your shoulders the priority, maybe your upper back and neck too. As you stand tall, pause again in your tree. With the next inhale, to reach your arms up and lift your knee again. When the hands come back to the heart, step the foot out to the side and back, landing in your warrior one. With the front knee bent, the back leg long, there's still a similar feeling in that pelvis as it looks forward. The feet might draw a little bit inwards to stabilize and strengthen the warrior shape. And you could then take a breath in and open your arms back out to the sides, perhaps turning the palms up. Shraddha, as we trust in faith, squeezing maybe shoulder blades lightly to lift the heart. And if you wish, you can roll your eye gaze up toward the ceiling, mindful of neck positioning, keeping neck rather long, but maybe your gaze is lifted. Feet are strong. And you've got your two aspects of the self sitting in your hands. As you take a breath in, and on the out breath we'll repeat, bringing the palms closer, but leaving just a gap between them as they almost meet in front of the chest. And getting that feeling of these energies that we're holding within ourselves before you close the palms of the hands again. On a breath in, lifting the heel, reaching up. On a breath out, this time release your arms, step your feet parallel, turn the palms back forward, landing in a mountain pose. I've just adjusted my feet. You might align yours parallel as well. Squeezing your inner heels together and lifting through the whole body. Perhaps closing the eyes, maybe tapping back into your 3-part breath. Breathing from the belly to the ribs, to the collarbones, and out in the same way. Letting this 3-part breath continue no matter my cues, move with your breath. With an inhalation, reaching your arms up. Bringing hands back to Anjali Mudra, softening the knees and breathing out to fold forward. You can roll forward if you find that comforting. Taking a breath in as your fingertips might press against your shins for a half lift. Then an out breath as you land your hands and land your knees. Swinging feet across to one side, and you might grab a little seated support already, as I will use a folded mat to sit on, blanket that is. You can fold or roll up the end of your mat if you preferred to sit a bit higher as well. Extending both of your legs forward now, flexing through the feet, pushing your fingertips down into the mat on either side of you, perhaps even straightening your legs out. See what I've just done, a little wiggle into my hips, allowing the pelvis to tilt right off my seated support. Bending into your right knee, and you might give that a little squeeze in towards you. You can then choose to leave the foot here, perhaps a light gap to the extended leg, or you might step this foot across. Keep a strong flexion in the foot on your extended leg, taking your right hand fingertips behind, holding onto the knee with the opposite hand and pulling yourself into an upright seat. Then using fingertips and hand to twist you to the side as you breathe out. Take a note of your shoulders, let them soften. Perhaps wrapping your arm around the knee. Maybe you take your elbow to the outside of the knee. If you placed it there, not my choice today, you might create a simple, or not simple, but similar pressure between the knee and the elbow or the arm that we experience in our side angles. As you are in your twist, take a note, how far did you turn the head backwards? Can you just allow your head to look over to the side instead? And then perhaps tilting your right ear towards the back shoulder. Keeping the front shoulder quite heavy. Then center the head. On the inhale, only bring the head forward. On the exhale, release your shape as you extend the legs to the front. Bending now the left knee as a repeat on the other side. Draw the foot in, either leave it with the gap to the extended leg here, or step the foot across. Bring a stronger flexion into your right foot, that's the extended leg, and take your left hand fingertips behind. It's only the fingertips, just to support. Hold on with the opposite hand to your knee. Use your fingertips, the hand to hold on, and grow your spine tall. Then an exhale to enter into a twist. Let shoulders relax and make a choice whether you keep the hold, wrap your elbow around, or take the elbow to the outside of the knee. Little reminder, the pressure might happen gently between elbow and knee if you go all the way. As you're eyeing your twist now, perhaps kind of limiting your neck turn by looking over to the side. With your shoulders being easy, you might then enjoy dropping your left shoulder to that back, the left ear to the left shoulder. As you might hold your front shoulder is rather on the heavier side. Keeping yourself upright, just a tilt in the neck. Still a flexion in the foot on the long leg, helping you anchor the body. Then lift your head. Breathe in and only turn that forward. Then breathe out, unravel your shape, extending both legs out long. As you might walk out through your sitting bones, bend the knees again. Keep the feet in a flexion. Once more, bring your fingertips down. And then walking your hands gently forward. You might lean your belly towards the thighs if it gets there. Let the hands rest on legs or floor. Shrug the shoulders gently back. Lengthen through the neck. And then might you lower your gaze and lean in a little bit further. It is perfectly fine to keep the knees in a bend. However, if you're already lying on your thighs, you might enjoy straightening the legs out. As you allow yourself to remain in the forward bend, lengthening your exhalation. It is a symbol for moving forward. It is also a sign of bowing forward, acknowledging maybe the higher purpose of your practice even. As you lengthen your spine forward again, taking a slow breath in and then curling gently up the spine as you're breathing out, coming into a tall seated position, removing whatever you might have been sitting on from underneath. Perhaps that can serve you as a gentle cushion underneath the head. Leaving your legs fully extended, you might bring the fingertips down onto the mat. If you prefer other support, please land on your hands. If not, roll down with me slowly. Maybe it is one out breath, maybe it's a few breaths that guide you towards the mat. So your arms landing by your sides. Step your feet back down onto the mat. Wiggle your body into a position. Maybe figure out where you forgot your block and perhaps bring that closer. As you land here, keeping the arms along the body, the feet about parallel. You can choose to have the feet as close towards your bottom as feels right, but knees and feet are hip distance. With the in-breath now, squeeze your bottom a little, tilt the pelvis and start to lift the hips up for a first bridge. Then exhale and roll your spine back down to the floor. We'll repeat that couple more times. Breath in for a tilt, a little squeeze to raise the hips up. And out breath to roll the spine to the floor. Let's lift our hips one more time. Holding maybe here. Keeping the shoulders on the floor. If you prefer, you can now use a block as a support. It might be nice to have it flat or halfway up underneath the sacrum. Some of you might even bring the block all the way up, all your choices. I would choose a middle position today, but you could also choose to simply hold the bridge. If you leave your bridge floating in the air, draw your tailbone up towards the backs of the knees, and you could slightly do so even with the block underneath. Maybe there's a slightly deeper extension over the front of the body. For those of you, the shoulders are fine. Reach your arms up to the ceiling and perhaps even all the way down onto the floor as you breathe out behind you. If that is comfortable, if not, you might leave your arms along the sides of the body. If you are currently floating in your bridge, you could consider to bring your hands underneath the hips, but only if your neck and shoulders are feeling great would you then lift your feet into the air for a shoulder stand. Please be mindful if you do practice shoulder stands to keep your gaze upward. If you have a block underneath, you might hold on to the block while lifting the feet off the floor, perhaps one after the other, knees loosely towards the chest, and as an option, extending the legs towards the ceiling. If you feel your block is a little bit wobbly, please keep a hold onto it. If you found a solid position, you can relax your arms. It might be nice to notice the feet up there in the air as you could move them gently. Maybe even through the whole foot, the ankle joint, and aware of how that impacts the leg that you are moving the foot of. While this movement might be nice after all of the standing postures, to notice, appreciate your feet, you could also be very curious about the movement in the legs that occur through that. And leave your legs hanging there for a moment. You might even open your arms Take a deeper breath and have a sigh out. Ah. Reversing the flow. If you are in a shoulder stand, please roll your way down. If you're up on a block, maybe take a hold of the block again. Bend your knees toward your chest, landing one foot back down after the other, right back to hip distance stance. Squeeze your bottom, the hips lift off the block, draw it out from underneath, and roll your spine down ever so slowly. Take your time. As your hips land on the floor, you might feel like a gentle swaying action. You might prefer to hug your knees towards the chest and rock from side to side over the whole back. No right or wrong here, just a preparation for resting pose or shavasana. When you are ready, taking your usual staples on the side of the mat, propping yourself up for a relaxation pose. That could mean there's a bolster coming under your knees, a cushion under the head, thin one, of course, so the neck stays aligned. You could snuggle up, and even might you close your eyes. When you come to lie down in your relaxation pose, it's ideal when the arms are just falling away from the body. However, sometimes it is necessary for your nervous system to stay in contact with the body, but that is okay. But if possible, let the arms just fall away. The legs do the same, so the toes might roll out. And with eye gaze steady or eyes closed, tuning right back in, the body is finding a rest. And oftentimes when there's stillness coming to the body, the mind becomes challenged. Perhaps for that reason, noticing the traits of the mind, the thoughts that come and go. Although we begin our practice today in a prayer position, variation of Anjali Mudra, giving a sign of faith or shraddha, with wisdom and compassion uniting. Take some time now to focus just on your right hand. The right hand as a symbol of yourself as a devotee, having a personal relationship with the divine from whom you seek blessing. Now take some time to focus on your left hand. The left hand as a symbol of the divine itself, the destination of your spiritual journey, the divine source who receives your prayers, devotional love, and offerings. Take your mind back to when our arms were open in the Warrior One. And we were slowly bringing the palms closer together, and where they then met, right in front of our heart space, and experience the devotee and the divine as a seamless unity. Take several breaths to rest in complete oneness with the all-encompassing divinity of the universe, whose light is the source and essence of all things. You might silently repeat to yourself or even out aloud in your space. Through the integration of all polarities, I experience my very essence as unity. Through the integration of all polarities, I experience my very essence as unity. Through the integration of all polarities, I experience my very essence as unity. With the flow of the breath going through your lungs and heart center, extend your awareness out into the two hands. Gently joining the palms of the hands in that slow way in front of your chest. As you touch the palms of the hands, be reminded of the universe, your higher self. And even if you are still lying down, as a symbol, as if you were to bow the head towards your heart and extend then toward each other. Namaste. Find your time to rise to a seat if you haven't. Thank you for joining the practice today. Hope you enjoyed. Please enjoy the day and take some faith, shraddha, with you.